How are we doing today? We're going to learn about the scroll saw, and the scroll saw is kind of like a cousin of the bandsaw. It's primarily for cutting curves. Similar to the bandsaw, it has different sized blades. This is a wider blade, and it's primarily for cutting larger radii. Then we have another one. You can see the difference between the two. All right. This one right here, you can cut very tight radii, tight curves. And now we even have a thinner one, which is really hard to focus in on. So I'm hoping you'll see it. It's for cutting really tight radii. Don't forget eye safety, and it's always good to have in ear protection. Just because you're on the scroll saw, somebody might be using the planer or the joiner. There's a lot of loud machinery in here. It's always good to have it. Again, no loose clothes. If you have long hair, tie it back. Safety first. So here we have some of the cuts that we did on the bandsaw. All right. This machine is really nice because what we can do is drill a hole, put the blade through it, and cut from the inside out. The bandsaw can't do that. And also with the scroll saw, I can make really, really, really tight cuts. You can do great projects with it. Let me show you one that was one of my favorites when I was younger. And it's a good one if you have kids because they love puzzles and they would like to make a puzzle of you. Jigsaw puzzles are great. This is one that I did when I was a little younger, all right? No gray hair, and my kids used to love to put it together. There are a lot of books out there which have great patterns in them that you can do. And we'll be going over, sometimes you want a negative and sometimes you want a positive. And you might be saying, huh, I'll go over that. So sometimes you want the piece that you cut out, or sometimes you want the piece that you cut out or you're cutting out. So there's a positive, and that would actually be a negative shape inside that. So this is a very fun machine. It's not for accurate, it's not for doing joinery, but what it's there for is cutting really, really tight curves. The other thing I like about the scroll saw is that I get to sit down. All the other machines, no sitting. This one here, you're gonna be here for a while. So what I wanna do is I'm gonna set up the saw, but first let's go over some parts. This right here, all right, and we have two scroll saws. You have one here, and you have one over here, and you notice this piece is gone. All right, some of them have them, some of them don't. Some people knock them off. And all this is doing is blowing the sawdust off so you can see the line. If this isn't here and you're using the other one, you have to do it the old-fashioned way and do it yourself. All right, right here what it's gonna do is this will tighten and loosen the blade. Right here what we have is the shoe, and the shoe holds down the wood. The difference between the scroll saw and the bandsaw, although they're both for cutting curves, the bandsaw is a continuous flow, it's a band. Where the scroll saw blade is reciprocating, it's going up and down. And sometimes the teeth are cutting down, and some of the blades have teeth down and some up. So they'll cut on the downstroke and the upstroke. Most of them, it's just down. So if you don't have the shoe in place, all right, and I'm out in the shop and all of a sudden I hear this, it tells me you don't have the shoe down. So I'm gonna come over there and I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna say, all right, make sure that the shoe is down and that's holding the wood down. Oh, didn't tighten it enough. So I put it in, drop the shoe down, tighten it, and I'm ready to go. Back here what we have is the speed control. You have your on-off button, and here's the adjustment for the tension on the blade. The blades will break, all right? You noticed how small they are, so be prepared for that. So what I want to do is I'm going to loosen the tension, and I'm going to release the blade. There we go. And now follow me down here. We're going to go under the machine, just like the bandsaw. We have it down here. So if I loosen this, I could take the blade out. The other thing that we have down here, while we're down, I can loosen it and I can tilt the table. So I can cut at different angles. So what I like to do is I like to secure the blade on the bottom first and then come up and adjust the top. So I put it in, and what I do is I run my thumb, and this is probably hard for you, but you can feel it. The teeth are grabbing my finger. If I go this way, it slides. This way, it stops. I want the teeth to point down. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the blade in and tighten that up. Now the blade is very loose, floppy. So now I'm going to put the tension on the blade. All right, I am not a music person. I'm probably a little tone deaf from what my daughter has said for me singing, but I want a nice high pitch on that. And the different scroll saws, some of them will have settings set for different blades. So we want to make sure that it's nice and tight. I have it set. I am ready to cut. I'm just going to put this down here. Now, normally what we're going to do is draw a line with a pencil, but I want you to see I use my Sharpie. I like the rule of thumb on this one too, of 2 inches. Keep your fingers 2 inches out. If you got to go real close, use a push stick or a piece of scrap of wood. So here you can adjust the speeds. So slower and faster. All right. Now in high school, all the boys wanted to go up here, they thought they were racing. But depending on your wood, are you cutting hardwood, softwood, is it thick wood or thin wood, will determine the speed. Basically, softer wood, you can go a little quicker, harder wood, a little slower. And you'll get a feel. Although it is hardwood, balsa wood is a hardwood, but it's very soft. So it's kind of tricky. You just get a feel while making the cuts. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on. Actually, I want a little higher. This is a soft wood. So I am pushing forward and turning at the same time. If I try just to turn, I will snap the blade. The blades are very thin. And while you're watching this, you're saying, wow, this is really easy. It is really easy. Just like riding a unicycle. After you've done it a few times, it's simple. Oh, look at that, I came off the line. A nice curve. And it's very smooth. This is what I really like on this machine. I can go in and I can turn around really quickly with it. And I am freehanding. I have what I want to do in my head. So I don't have a line that I'm following. All right. For those of you in Arizona, here we go. We just had a very weird swirl, okay? Now, here we have, I want this piece would be the positive, or maybe I'm cutting that out on a piece of wood, which is the negative. So nice thing about this is sometimes I'm cutting it and that's what I want, or I'm cutting this and I'm gonna glue that on. The scroll saw is a great machine. You can have a lot of fun with it. So here what I'm going to do is cut out some swirls. So what I would want to do is I could drill a hole. Being with a small blade, I could do one hole, or what I could do is if I needed to, I could do a couple holes. This one I'm probably just going to do one. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I have a piece of wood, so I'm not drilling into the table. And all I want to do is drill. right. The nice thing about the scroll saw is what I can do is release the pressure, release the blade, raise up the shoe. So now what I want to do is lift up, and what I'm going to do is put the blade through the hole, drop her down, lock the blade back in place, A minor, just so I have a nice ping to it, drop the shoe down, and I'm ready to go. Again, turning while pushing forward. The nice thing, and I'm going a little quick here, with the curves is it's not precision. So if I go off the line a little bit, it's really not going to affect the piece, especially if you were doing a jigsaw. So I am rushing this just a little bit. Normally what I would do is go a little slower. Now I have that hole that I'm going by, and sometimes you have intricate pieces, so you have a few holes, but on this one I should be able to get by with just using the one hole. Turn it off, release the blade, raise it up, release your piece. Okay, so now what I have is I can either have this piece or really what I want, and let's get rid of the line, there's my swirl. So we raise it up, line up the hole, bring it in. Blade in, tension. Okay, I'm not getting a high pitch, so I'm going to loosen that again. Make sure I can try to get, because I've just raised this up, sometimes I want to make sure it's back in the right position. Tighten it. Bring down the shoe. And I'm ready to go. Now sometimes you'll see there's sawdust building up. I reposition that, that will get rid of the sawdust. Or if you don't have one of those, you have to do it the old-fashioned way and just blow the sawdust out. So I can turn these really quickly. Did you notice I went off my line a little bit there? Even though I kind of turned at 90 degrees there, I was still slightly pushing forward. You don't want to just turn without pushing forward. You'll snap the blade. And you will snap them. They are very thin blades. they get dull, and they pop. There, we're done. Turn it off. Release your pressure. Blade, lift up. And there we have another little swirl. So to conclude on the scroll saw, what we want to make sure that, number one, you're picking the right blade. All right, there are the wider blades. If I'm doing tight curves, I want the thinner blade. Again, rule of thumb, keep your fingers about 2 inches outside, never directly in line. And if you need to support it, use a push stick. This is a very, very simple machine. Again, freehand sawing. This one does not have a fence, and it doesn't have a miter gauge. It's just for freehand sawing. Hope you have a great day.